Hello and welcome to Merlin's Manor. Today I'm going to be doing my favorite games from A to Z, a game for each letter of the alphabet. And for the purposes of this video, I will not be considering the word the. We'll skip the word the in those games and go straight to the next word as far as that goes. And so let's go ahead and jump right on into my list, starting with the letter A. And for the letter A, I've chosen Ark Nova. It's a nice zoo building game with some polyomino placements going on, as well as a great tableau building game. So I really enjoy this game, both solo and multiplayer. So Ark Nova. Now let's get right on into the letter B. And for B, I have chosen Bonsai. And this one was kind of a close one. I just recently played Bonsai. Before that, I was going to go with Batman Dark Knight Returns, which is a solo-only game. But then Bonsai we played, and I really enjoyed the kind of chill factor of this game, that it's kind of you're building out this bonsai tree and you're trying to go for these different goals. I just really enjoyed Bonsai now, and so that is my choice for the letter B. Moving on into the letter C, and this one was going to be Clank before I got a new game to the table, and that is Castles of Burgundy. And Castles of Burgundy quickly shot up on my list. It's become a 10 out of 10 for me as far as games go, and so I had to include this one as my letter C. It's just a lot of fun to get all these different tiles, to put them into your duchy, and to be able to score points through them. It's a great Euro game with a little bit of dice rolling in there to kind of give it a little bit of luck, but at the same time there's some mitigation for that luck as well. And so the Castles of Burgundy is for the letter C. Moving on into the letter D, I have a dinosaur game for you, and that is Dinogenics. I really enjoy this game. It's my favorite dinosaur game, although I've only played a couple of them, but I really enjoy it. It really feels like you're building out a dinosaur theme park, just like in Jurassic Park, and so I really enjoy building up my little park there, getting these different dinosaurs in there and score points for them. It's got this kind of cascading effect for your score. As you get those dinosaurs in, they're going to add to your victory points that you're going to score at the end of each round. And so you kind of want to quickly get some good dinosaurs in there to attract people to your dinosaur park. Dinogenics, really enjoy it. Hopefully they got a Kickstarter coming out again soon, because it's hard to get your hands on. But if you can get Dinogenics, I highly recommend it. Moving on into the letter E, I have Everdell, and I have the complete collection for Everdell. We really enjoy this game. It's a worker placement game where you are trying to build out a tableau of cards that represent your city, that has buildings and different critters in it that are going to give you victory points. And really enjoy this game. Really enjoy all the different expansions that come along with it. My favorite being Spirecrest. Highly recommend it if you want the game to be a little crunchier, and just all kinds of good stuff. And you want to play solo, it now has a great solo mode with Mistwood. Moving on into the letter F, I just had to go with Final Girl. It's a solo-only game, but I really, really enjoy it. It's one of the ones that's quickly got probably my most plays out of any game, other than another one that's going to come up in my list in just a moment. But Final Girl, you've got a lot of luck involved in the game, but a lot of luck mitigation as well that you can do. And so it's a very fun game as you are taking on the role of a final girl that's going up against this all kinds of different horror movie tropes. It's just a very fun game to try and survive and to save other people along the way. Final Girl. Moving on into the letter G is Gloomhaven. This is the game that I have played the most out of any game. We've played all the way through the base campaign of Gloomhaven, played through Jaws of the Lion, if you want to include that in with this one. And we're working on Forgotten Circles. It's a dungeon crawl-esque type game where you are trying to defeat a bunch of bad guys. You've got special cards that go along with your characters. There's different characters that you play as throughout the game. As you retire one character, you get to try out a different character. And just really enjoy the game, and highly recommend Gloomhaven. Next one is H, and for H, I have chosen Heat. And this is a fairly new game for me. I just got it not too terribly long ago. Only played it a handful of times, but already it is the one I am recommending. It bumped Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle off of my list for H here, as I've really gotten to enjoy Heat. It's got a lot of tension as you are trying to race and be the first one around the track. And so, you got multiple different laps that you're going to be going through to try and secure your win, you got these heat cards that represent you kind of pushing your engine a little bit hard, and you have to try and balance between pushing your engine too hard versus not hard enough and not being as competitive. So really enjoy Heat. It's got a lot of tension to it as you can feel like you're winning and then all of a sudden somebody comes up from behind you, and I really enjoyed Heat for the few playthroughs I've had already. So for the letter H, it is Heat, pedal to the metal. Now for the letter I have Isle of Cats. I really enjoy the Isle of Cats. It's a polyomino placement game. It's got both a family mode and a standard mode. And in the family mode, you're basically just placing out the cats. But in the full mode, you're also got some card drafting going on, where you have to get cards to be able to play. You get baskets to be able to play your cats. You've got other lesson cards that you're going to be getting along the way, which in the family mode, you just have a couple lessons at the beginning of the game that you're going to be using, whereas you're going to be collecting them as you go in the standard mode. I really enjoy both modes of this game. Especially though I do enjoy the standard mode where you're getting a little bit more meatier of a game than in the family mode. Really love it. It's my favorite polyomino placement game, the Isle of Cats. Moving on into the letter J, and for the letter J, for the longest time I was going to have to go with Jumbo Jenga, which I do enjoy. But just recently I started playing another J game that is Junk Drawer, which is another polyomino placement game. And so the J is going to be for Junk Drawer. And so in Junk Drawer, you have these 4 quadrants that you are trying to fill up with different polyomino shapes. And some of them you actually don't want to fill up because you want some blank spaces there as far as how you're going to score. Others you want to fill up as much as you can. Others you try to put as many pieces as you can. You have these different goals that you are going to be chasing after, and each one's going to be different for each quadrant. And so there's a puzzle you got to figure out there. You can only put one in each quadrant per round, and there's going to be 4 different cards that are going to come out. They're going to tell you which shape to place. And so you have to hope that you don't have a better piece that comes out where you just put one. And so it's a very fun filler game that's really quick to play, Junk Drawer. Moving on into K, and K is a difficult one for me because there's been a handful of games that I've played that really haven't stood out. And then there's a couple that I've only played once, which I'm trying to figure out between those two. It was either going to be King Domino or Kepler 3042. But I'm going to lean on into Kepler 3042. You've got a bit of engine building going in this game as you are trying to build out these different tracks that are going to give you different abilities. You've got a limited amount of resources that you can use as you are trying to go out and explore various planets and terraform them, colonize them, and all that kind of stuff. And so you've got a nice little puzzle to figure out as to what you're going to be able to do. You can't do it all, of course. And so I enjoyed my one playthrough of that. I'm going to go ahead and throw that in there, even though I've only had one playthrough so far. Enjoyed the game, and we'll have to get to playing it some more. That is K. Moving on into the letter L, and this is a series of games I'm going to go with is Legendary, and I have the Legendary Encounters Firefly, which is a cooperative version of the game where you are playing missions in the Firefly series, and you are working together against the game there. Or you have Legendary Marvel, where you are playing in the Marvel universe, and it's a semi-cooperative game where you are, as a group, trying to defeat the bad guys, but ultimately it's whoever saves the most victims and defeats the most bad guys as far as points go. They are worth different points as you go, but you're going to have scoring points at the end of the game for what you have on those. We also have the Buffy the Vampire Slayer Legendary, and so we got quite a bit of Legendary, and so I enjoy that series of games very much. So for the letter L, Legendary Encounters and the normal Marvel and Buffy. For the letter M, we have Meadow. Meadow is a very kind of chill, combo-y type game where you are trying to get certain creatures and landmarks into your tableau so that you can play others based on the symbol that you have. And so you got to go, okay, I need that symbol, so I'm going to try and get that into my tableau here, and then I'll be able to play this on top of that. That symbol will now go away, but you got a new symbol that comes in, maybe even a couple new symbols if you have certain cards that come out. And so you're trying to score points. Each one of those different cards is going to be worth points. Come out with the Downstream expansion now, which adds even an extra thing with this river that you are focusing on as well. I really enjoy it. It's kind of a chill game, and very appreciate Meadow. Getting into the letter N now is New York Zoo. This is another polyomino placement game, and this one's kind of a race to finish type game as you're racing to fill out all of your zoo space there with different polyomino shapes. And to help you along the way, you're going to be getting animals into your zoo. You're going to be able to turn those in once you fill in a polyomino shape with animal pieces to be able to then get one of these special type of pieces to add into your zoo. And so I really enjoy it. It's a race to finish that zoo, and you're trying to just fill in these polyomino shapes. It's really easy, of course, at the beginning to put shapes down in, but then towards the end you have to kind of work towards just getting these smaller shapes to fill out your zoo. Going on to the letter O, this is one I actually had to buy a couple of games in order to even have a game to fulfill this letter. And so I bought 2 games. I bought Onirim and I bought One Deck Dungeon. And then between those 2 games, I have chosen One Deck Dungeon, and really it's One Deck Dungeon just really raced ahead in that one. I've really enjoyed One Deck Dungeon. Basically, you have getting a bunch of dice throughout this game to battle against these different monsters and overcome these different traps along the way. And so you're getting different abilities. They're going to give you even more dice and different ways you can manipulate the dice. And I've really enjoyed it. If you enjoy just having a bunch of dice and throwing them and trying to figure out what you can do to manipulate them to be able to accomplish the task there, I highly recommend One Deck Dungeon. It's a bit of a puzzly game more than just chucking dice and seeing what happens, because you are trying to figure out how you can manipulate those dice with your different abilities there. Moving on to the letter P, we have Planet Unknown, which is probably my second favorite polyomino placement game. And in this game, you are basically terraforming out this planet that you have, and there's asymmetric planets as well as asymmetric corporations that you can play as, or you can play as these standard ones. And the goal here is to fill out columns and rows on your planet in order to score points. For the longer columns in the middle and the longer rows, you're going to get 3 points, and then 2 points and 1 point as you kind of get out towards the outskirts and there's less to fill in there. As well as you're going after different goals along the way. They're going to score you points. And there's different colony things that are either going to score you points or give you abilities. And you're going up these different tracks. As you go up the different tracks, you are going to unlock certain things as well as score points for the end game there by going so far up the tracks. And so I really enjoy Planet Unknown. It's got quite a bit going on with it. You also have event cards that you can play with that are going to cause either good or bad things to happen throughout the game. But of course, it's going to happen to everybody if you're playing a multiplayer game. You can also play solo, which you are going to have a certain goal to accomplish. It's somewhere around 60 points, depending on which events setup you have going on there. And so I really enjoy Planet Unknown. Going on to the letter Q is the Quacks of Quedlinburg. This is a bag building game with a push your luck element where, it's mainly push your luck really, where you are getting these different ingredients that you're putting into a bag. You are pulling them out one at a time, and if you get white ingredients, the cherry bombs, they are not good for you. If you get over 7 points worth of those white ingredients, you are going to bust. If you bust, you can either take victory points or you can take the buy power to buy your more ingredients. If you don't bust, then you get both the victory points and the buy power, as well as you're in the running for a bonus if you get the furthest around that round. I really enjoy this game. Each of the different ingredients gives you different abilities, and you just have this plethora of different ingredients you can choose from, and trying to figure out which ones you want to buy to best be able to fill your cauldron each time to get as far out as you can without busting. And I'm not very good at this game. I wind up losing a lot because I just have the bad luck when it comes to pulling out those ingredients for some reason. But I still enjoy the game. Tension as you are trying to pull out those ingredients, trying to push your luck as you go. I really enjoy that. Moving on to the letter R, I have Race for the Raft, another game in the Isle of Cats kind of series there. It's kind of it's a follow-up to Isle of Cats, as there are some cats that didn't make it off the island when you were there trying to rescue the cats. Now you are playing as the cats trying to get off the island, get to your raft, and you're placing out these different squares that have different colored terrain on them that your cats can only go on their color terrain. And so you're trying to set up to where you have pathways for them to go to get to the boat. And as you put out those pathways, you're also going to be putting out some fire tiles that are polyomino shapes, and you're trying to figure out where you can put those, where they are connected to fire already, and we're not going to be in your way. And then you have some water tokens that you can spend in order to get rid of some of those fire tiles, but then you're not going to score as many points at the end of the game if you use those. So you're trying not to use those if you don't have to try and maximize your score there. And there's so many different scenarios. You got a scenario book that has a bunch of scenarios. You got campaigns that you're going through with those scenarios. Really enjoy the game. It's got a lot of content, and Frank keeps putting out special one-off scenarios that you can play as. In fact, the last one we just played that he put out was one where you actually had this special kind of thing going on where you couldn't place fire next to fire. And so that one was really tough because you had to make sure that it wasn't connected to fire at all, and they're spreading out a lot more because of that. So that was a very interesting one. And so Frank keeps putting out content. We'll keep playing the new content. Plus, we still have a lot to get through of the original content that came with our Kickstarter version that had even extra scenarios there. So Race to the Raft is my letter R. Coming in on letter S now, we have Spirit Island, and that was a no-brainer for me. I really enjoy Spirit Island. It is a heavy cooperative game, or you can play it solo, either true solo with just one spirit, or you can play two-handed solo or three-handed solo if you're really feeling crazy, or four-handed if you're feeling super crazy. You can really just do that, but I enjoy it when I play solo, just playing with the one spirit and doing that. I also enjoy it cooperatively. It plays best probably at 2 to 3 players as far as if you're playing. I wouldn't go above 3 players personally just because it gets crazy. I know a lot of people do. But I feel that this best at 2 to 3 players or solo is very enjoyable as well. And basically you are playing as these spirits that are trying to keep these invaders out. You're trying to kick them out. They're trying to invade the land. You're working with the Dahan that will help you to defeat some of these different towns and cities. You're trying to build up this fear factor that is going to eventually win you the game. The more fear you've built up, the less you have to get rid of. And there's one spirit that actually wins by fear. And so that's really cool to play with, changes things up a bit. They each have their different asymmetric powers, abilities. They got their different cards they're going to start out with, as well as your player board that's going to have different things trigger along the way as well as you have these innate abilities that are going to happen. And so it's really got a lot going on to it, a lot of ways you can customize it. You can go up against specific enemies, opponents, as well as different scenarios, all kinds of stuff. You can increase the difficulty in different ways as well. A lot of fun, a lot of content, even in the base game. And we just have also the first expansion there, but more content already than I've had a chance to really explore, even though I've done a lot of exploring the game. Enjoy it very much. That is Spirit Island. Moving on into the letter T, and there were so many great games that start with the letter T. It's so unfortunate for all those great games that one of my favorite games also starts with the letter T, and that is Terraforming Mars. I really enjoy Terraforming Mars. It's the epitome of engine building and tableau building. You've got all these cards that you're going to try to get and pay for and set up your engine so that you can get more and more resources to be able to do more stuff as you go through the game. And you got your asymmetric corporations that are going to give you special abilities, as well as starting money varies from different corporations. You've got, if you play with the Prelude, you're going to start out with these Prelude cards that are going to give you a boost at the beginning of the game, and then you're basically trying to terraform Mars by fulfilling getting the heat up, by getting the different greeneries out there to raise the oxygen, and other ways that you raise the oxygen as well through some of the cards that you play, as well as getting a certain amount of oceans out on the board. And once all 3 of those things are met, that triggers the end game. It's going to be the last generation, and then whoever has the most victory points wins the game. And so you're going to be doing lots of things to get victory points throughout the game. One of the biggest ways, of course, though, is terraforming the planet. Every terraforming thing you do, you go ahead and get a victory point for raising that level there, or putting out that ocean. So I really enjoy Terraforming Mars. It is one of my favorite games. It's my favorite game starting with the letter T. Moving on into the letter U now, we have Under Falling Skies. And this is a solo-only game, but it's really a great game. If you're looking to get into solo board gaming, this is a great one to start out with. Basically, you are defending the Earth against these aliens that are coming in, and it's got this feel of Space Invaders or Galaga, where you have them descending down towards the Earth and you are shooting the different planes through certain actions, as well as the motherships lowering as well, which is getting closer and closer and making it harder as it goes through the game. You're going to be rolling dice, and you're going to be putting the dice into this grid basically to do an action at the end. After you place all your dice, you're going to do action for each dice, and you have to go one in each of the 5 columns. But as you put that dice down, you're also going to be lowering the alien ships that are in that column by that amount. And so if you're putting a 6 down, you have to realize they're going to come down 6. And so you want, hopefully that ability is worth them coming down 6. I mean, you're constantly kind of trying to figure out, okay, where am I going to put this dice? Do I really want them coming down this much in this column, or do I need to put it here where it's not going to be as much? You also have the ability to re-roll the dice. Every time you place a white die, you're going to re-roll all the dice you haven't placed yet. And so there's this also decision space of, do I place the white die now and re-roll all the dice hoping for something better? Or do I work with what I have? I already know what I have to place out. And you can kind of figure out for that. You've got so many different cities that have different abilities. There's a campaign that you can go through, and it's going to unlock different things as you go with that as well as you're unlocking different cities each round that you're going to be able to play with. And at the end of playing the campaign, you have so many different cities you can play with as one-offs after that. Really love Under Falling Skies. Highly recommend checking it out. I have video of a playthrough if you want to check that out as well. Great game. Moving on into the letter V is Vagrant Song. And this is a cooperative game where it's basically a boss battler, but instead of trying to kill off the boss, you are actually trying to restore the boss's humanity. And so you're not doing damage to the boss, you're actually increasing its humanity until you can win the game and by restoring it all. And each one has different ways that the boss interacts with the board, different things going on the board, scenarios that you are facing each time, and it offers a different puzzle to solve as you are trying to restore the humanity of this haint. And so I really enjoy it. It's got a lot of good stuff in it. You are progressing as you go and getting different things that you can use in your future rounds. It's called junk that you are able to then use to do different things, as well as different skills and abilities as well that you are going to get. So I really enjoy Vagrant Song. It's a cooperative boss battler style game. Now moving on to the letter W is Wingspan. And Wingspan has been one of my favorite games, top 5 games since I played it shortly after I got into board gaming. It's still up there. I get every expansion as it comes out and really enjoy it. It's a simple game on the surface. You're doing one of 4 actions on your turn, and you are trying to basically get these birds into your tableau that are going to basically build up this engine that you can run each time that you do an action. You go across and you activate all the brown powers as you go. You have pink powers which activate off turn if somebody does certain things. You've got blue powers that are end of round that came in with the European expansion, which gives you special things. Coming in with the Oceania expansion, we have the yellow powers that give you end of game things that are going to trigger. And there's just so much to try and optimize your scoring. There's so many different ways that you score points. It's very point salady. You can go after scoring points by getting birds tucked under your cards. You're scoring points for the birds themselves that are in your tableau. You're scoring points for food that's cached on cards. You're scoring points for different goals. All kinds of things are going to score you points throughout the game, and so it's a lot of fun. And of course, the big thing towards the end of the game, a lot of times you're trying to get eggs on your different birds, because for each egg you have at the end of the game is worth a point as well. Just so much that you can focus on. You can focus on a different thing every game, or you can focus on kind of doing a bunch of everything. I really enjoy Wingspan. Moving on to the letter X, I had to cheat a little bit for the letter X. I'm going with X-Men Marvel United. I know technically it's Marvel United X-Men, but I actually don't have any legit X games, and so I'm going to have to say X-Men Marvel United. I enjoy the Marvel United system. It's not my favorite of the systems there. I think it kind of is very bumped up, a little overhyped, but I do enjoy the game, the system there. Basically, you are going up against different bad guys, and you choose the bad guy you're going up against, and you have to play your cards out, and you get to do what the person before you played. You get to do their symbols as well as your symbols, any special ability on the card that you just played, and you are going around, you're trying to rescue people. You got basically 3 goals that you're going to accomplish each round before you can defeat the bad guy. One of those is rescuing civilians, another is to defeat these thugs, and then and you're unlocking all those things as you go around. I've played a little bit. I need to get back to the table a little bit more, but I've enjoyed my plays of it, just not as much as it was hyped up. Now moving on into the letter Y, and there's only one game I've played that starts with the letter Y, and that is Yahtzee. It's a classic game that I played as a kid, and I still enjoy it to a certain degree. It's definitely not one of my favorites anymore, but it is a game that is to get it out and play is fine, and it's the only Y game I have, so I had to go with Yahtzee. Now moving into the final letter is Z is for Zombicide. I enjoy all the Zombicide. If I had to pick just one so far, it's going to be Black Plague. I haven't yet played Marvel Zombies, though. I just got that recently. I haven't gotten it to the table yet. That may take over once I've played Marvel Zombies. But right now, Zombicide Black Plague is the main one of the Zombicide series that I enjoy very much. I highly recommend Zombicide. It's a dungeon crawler-esque. You're not really exploring out. You're not really unlocking new tiles. You're basically just kind of going around trying to complete a goal that the scenario has for you, or maybe even a few goals that the scenario has for you, while you are fighting off zombies by rolling dice, using different equipment that you are able to find along the way. You're rolling the dice to try and get above a certain amount based on the equipment that you're using to fight off those zombies in order to defeat zombies as you go. I really enjoyed the system, especially once Black Plague came out. The earlier ones I didn't interest me as much. The original Zombicide, just because of the way the friendly fire worked in that, I didn't find it very thematic or enjoyable, that you basically have to hit your friends first if you're using a ranged weapon. And so they fixed that with Black Plague, whereas you have a chance of hitting people if you roll above a certain number, or I mean, if you roll below the number, that is your target number. Otherwise, if you roll above it, you get to actually do damage to the bad guys, and so that gives you kind of a little bit of a push your luck if you are going to use a ranged weapon with other people in that space, but at least you are going to first be able to attack the bad guys if you roll the right numbers there. And so those are my A through Z, and I have one last one I want to bring up, and that is for numbers. Just going to throw out one that has a number there, and that is 7 Wonders. And that could be 7 Wonders if you're playing with 3+, or 7 Wonders Duel as a 2-player game. I really enjoy both equally, and it just depends on what player count I'm playing at as to which one we would be playing there. And so 7 Wonders Duel, I really enjoy that. It's a card drafting game. 7 Wonders, the regular game, is a card drafting game where you're passing cards around, you're playing one. From each time you get to look at the cards, you pick one and play it, and then once all the cards are gone but one, you can move into the second and then the third phase, trying to score the most points through various avenues. And then 7 Wonders Duel, you have card drafting that's in a tableau in front of you, where you are just basically going to pick up one that is available at the bottom there, and then it will reveal more as you go along. You're again trying to score more points than your opponent. But also, there's also in 7 Wonders Duel a couple other ways that you can win the game straight up. If your military manages to completely annihilate the other player by getting all the way along this track, then you will win that way. Or if you get a certain amount of the science icons, you will win through having those different science icons. And so I really enjoy all the games on this list. This is my A to Z. What are your favorite games from these different letters? Let me know in the comments below of some of your favorite games from these. If you want to go ahead and just let me know all of them, that'd be cool as well. And so just let me know. And I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will catch you in the next one.